I kind of would, because the Fresh Prince always tried to present that they were, a bold show and they would go to different levels that other shows didn't. I kind of wish they did that for the reunion and kind of responded to, how do you reconcile a show that is still popular today but isn't necessarily like, especially they talked about, kids watching this, like younger kids watching the show, and how you kind of reconcile. Here is here's a show that was acceptable back then, but those things aren't now. Like, how do you have that conversation necessarily with your kids? And how do you, as a performer, answer for that thing, for those types of things? Because we're seeing that with performers, right? Specific, there's a lot of comedians, and this has happened for a long time, but your stand-up in the 80s isn't funny in the 2000s. Your stand-up in the 90s isn't funny in the 2010s because
your stand-up from the 2010s aren't funny
because
going into the 2020s.
Yeah, because times change and tastes change.
So you
kind of have to reconcile that.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but to put like the cast of a show that came out 30 years ago not on trial, but to be like,
I don't know.
This, like what? No. Like how? Like I want you to explain right now to the kids why that is wrong. What you just said. That's
no. I don't want to put them on trial. I just kind of wish, because they at least want to give the illusion that they are such a close knit cast.
Yeah.
I kind of wish they just had a conversation about it.
Oh,
I would just be curious to see, from their perspective as performers, like, how do you deal with that? Like, what is that like? Do you is it just like, well, it was at the time and that's what it was, or is it like, like how do you deal with that? I guess one thing I thought they might do, especially because it was so current and they had so many guests, and one thing that did start to kind of bubble up was the episode that featured Donald Trump.
Yeah,
and there's the actual moment where the character Ashley says to Donald Trump, "You ruined my life." I was just curious to see if they would potentially bring.
They didn't touch it.
Bring some relevant things up, like Donald Trump, and they even have they talk about Bill Cosby at certain times. Again, just talking about some of the time stuff and like what it was like then and now. Kind of like to Ravi, it's like I wish they had turned, because that would have been new information, right? New things that potential things that people would have been interested in, and it just seemed like they went very safe